All right, everybody, welcome back. Today's topic is going to be on smart objects. And smart objects can actually do a lot of different things. We're just going to be using it today for context, meaning taking some of our design or our artwork and putting it in an environment that the client could potentially envision. Oh, I see what that book cover could look like on a book cover. I see what that label would look like on an aluminum can. I see what that design looks like, in this case, on a t-shirt. So contextually speaking, really what smart objects are used for is taking a photograph and then placing our artwork on that photograph to make it look like it was actually created. And they're very handy, and for all of my college seniors, this is the way that they put their portfolios together. That's the way I put my portfolio together. So I would encourage you guys to start using them. Now, the seniors at Auburn were using these for context. I wanted the juniors to get into it towards the end. Freshmen, probably not so much. In fact, I don't even know if as freshmen we'll get to talk too much about smart objects, maybe a little bit, but this is something that for certainly graphic design 3, but probably 2 is going to be really useful. So to give you an idea on some of the stuff that I've been doing to stay busy, here is a client that I've been working with. And to give you some idea about my process, so I'm using Adobe Illustrator, and I kind of flip-flop between Illustrator and Photoshop to come up with an illustration and a logo for the Rockford Peaches. And this is kind of where I'm at. This would be for signage. But I'm going to be taking this graphic and placing it on a t-shirt, and I'm going to use smart objects to do it. But just a little bit more about my process, and this is the reason that I really stress coming up with ideations or several versions of something. The chances of you getting something right the first time are really kind of slim to none. And I'm not saying just you, but myself included. I've been drawing this illustration several times. I don't have the very first one. I unfortunately lost it, but I probably have a scan of it somewhere. And this is a technique that I've shared with a few of you guys, where what I do is, if I'm basing an illustration, in this case, off of a photograph, you can kind of see it here. I print the photograph at a really low opacity, print it off on 8.5 by 11, and then I'll just trace right on top of it. And that's not cheating. In fact, I got it from a pretty famous designer. It's just a really nice way of capturing a certain amount of realism. Now, some things I like, some things I don't. Really what I wanted to do is strip it down to a very graphic, more iconic look, and that's kind of where I'm at inside of here. And if I zoom out, you can see that my artboards are very, very messy. Yours should be too. You can see that I've got several different versions of the logo, different fonts, different colors. Here's all the different image traces, and what's happening is every time that I trace it out, it gets a little bit more stylized until I get it very simplified, and I get a lot of that detail gone. And I'm just working with form and counterform, positive and negative, and I want it as stripped down as possible so it becomes a lot more memorable. Here's an image that I found for color reference, and if you're not familiar, the Rockford Peaches were a female baseball team in the 30s or 40s, I think. Maybe even a little earlier than that. So, I do like where it's going here. I feel like overall it's got a pretty good look to it. You can see that there's a pattern in the background. But what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be using this graphic in Photoshop to place it into a smart object. And here's my smart object. Just so you know, are these newer versions of Adobe, if I go to Control N for File New, and let's just go to Print, you can see that the new version of Adobe comes packed with all these goodies. And look, here is a book cover mock-up. Here's a canvas bag mock-up, aluminum can, amber glass bottle, posters, flyers, billboards, t-shirts. I actually use this t-shirt for the Kappa design, mugs. There's all types of really cool stuff in here. I saw in art and illustration, check this out, watercolor textures. All this stuff is free. I'm going to be grabbing this after the demo because I think that these are going to be pretty useful. They got some handmade halftones, all types of free goodies depending on what your presets are. So if we go to photo, you can see there's all types of stuff here. If you're designing websites, they got all these mock-ups here for mobile and so forth and so on. So please explore, grab this stuff, start saving this stuff. They're very, very useful. I've already got one. I got this from Graphic Burger. And the way that smart objects work are pretty simple. I'm going to open up the image that I'm going to be placing in here. So I'll just go to File, Open. Let's see. And it's the logo t-shirt. Now, for some reason, this always wants to open up in grayscale, and I saw some students make this mistake too. So I'm going to change grayscale to RGB and choose OK. So here's my graphic, and it's on a transparent background, which is exactly how I want it. I had to stop there because I didn't think that it was recording any longer, but we're back and coming back to Smart Objects. So here is my Photoshop document. And here's the document that contains the smart object, which I'm going to place my t-shirt design into. Now there's a couple of different ways to do this. The way that I'm going to do it is just select everything. We should remember that's Control A. And if you are using a Mac, substitute Control for Command. Control C to copy. Let's go back to the document that I want to paste it into. And here's really the only thing that's important. All of these smart objects are set up a little bit differently, but you're going to look for a layer, hopefully it's named, that says your designs go here. But this little icon right here, and I can make this a little bit bigger. I guess maybe I can't. What you're looking for is this little icon right in the lower right. It looks like two little squares on top of one another. Once you start learning about smart objects, the icon actually makes a little bit of sense. But check this out. If I double click on this layer, it's going to bring me to another document that wasn't open before, and this one's a PSB. PSBs are kind of the wave of the future. This is where everything that is cool about smart objects takes place. And from here I can just Control V, paste my document right in here. Now it's very large, so Control T to get our free transform going on. Size this up a little bit better. That looks pretty good. If I need to change the scale or the rotation or something like that, I can do that later. And I'm going to turn off that original graphic that says Replace Me. This is the safe area, so it's nice that the designer gave this to us. It lets us know that anything outside of this bounding box might get chopped off when we go back to the t-shirt design. So I'm going to bring this down a little bit more. Looks like I'm staying within the safe area now. Probably move this around a little bit just by using the move tool. It looks pretty good. So I'll turn off the safe area, and all you really need to do now is save. So Control S. It's interesting. So Control S and Control W, and there it is. It's on the t-shirt. Now this is a pretty sophisticated smart object in that it's got all types of little bells and whistles to change the color. Like, I don't really think this looks very good on this color t-shirt, and in fact I think it's sitting too low. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to double click and enter that smart object again and just raise it up some. Control S and Control W, and that looks a little bit better. Now I might be able to just take this and actually move it up manually, and that's starting to look a little bit better. Might even transform this down a bit. I think that looks a little bit better. Okay, that looks pretty decent. Let's change the color of the t-shirt. You can see right here there's a layer. It says change t-shirt color. What is this type of layer? For those of you that got to adjustment layers, which I think is everybody, it's an adjustment layer. And if I double click on it, it's a photo filter, which not too many people probably used. That doesn't look terrible on black, but I'm just going to change it to see what the gray looks like. Whoa. I kind of think like a dark gray looks pretty good. We could probably even try to change, maybe if I wanted to do something a little bit more tan, maybe. I think what's going on here, the reason that this is looking so weird is the value right here is getting a little bit off. So it's set to color dodge. If we pull the opacity down, see that that's bringing it back to something that looks more t-shirt-y. That's not bad. Let's change that color a little bit more to maybe something like that. And that's it. That's smart objects in a nutshell. They're very, very useful, especially in situations like this where maybe my client wants to see what it would look like on a t-shirt before they actually commit to the silkscreen process, and this gives them that type of mock-up. It gives them that type of clarity to say this is what it would look like, and then maybe they would come back and say, oh, I really like it, but can we see it smaller as far as the graphic goes? And that's not a problem. Maybe they want something, or maybe they just want it right on the upper right, like on the pocket or something like that. And that's very simple to do. So that's smart objects. I hope that makes a little bit of sense. I realize that not everyone has the software right now, but eventually this will get over, and when that day happens, we'll come right back to it, and this will be archived. So if you ever need to go back and reference how to apply a smart object, there it is. Take care, stay safe, talk to you guys soon.